We pull our corn the day before, 2 days before, and have it in the cooler. And it is a tradition, and sometimes you can't do it without having a group together. You don't want to do it without having some family members around or some extended family, like my husband's sister and brother. Well, 2 of the brothers. In fact, there were 4 of them here helping. And if they need something done like this, we'll go help them. So it's helping each other. And if we had to have gathered it this morning, we would have been in the field and pulled it in the baskets and brought it here to the shelter. And we then would start shucking it, getting the shuck off and the silks, and making sure the ends were cut real good and clean. And we put it in the buckets of tubs of water, cold water, to keep it so that the insects wouldn't get into it. And as soon as we got maybe a half bushel cleaned, we put it in the hot water, which would already be heated.
Well, pretty well calls it blanching it. It's already done, but it's just done to put in the freezer. Some people puts it in there without blanching it. But we pretty well blanch all ours.
And that would take maybe 20 to 25, 30 minutes to complete that process. And after we removed it from the hot water, we would put it in a tub of cold water, and we continue to transfer it 3 times in cold water to get it cold enough to cut off the cob. And by that time, it's cold enough to handle it and to cut it off the cob without any problem of, holding it in our hands, and then making sure it would be prepared cold enough to put in the bags for freezing. Before I got married, my mother, this was something that I was used to doing. And so we're still doing 50, 60 years really. When I moved up here, it wasn't any different. We didn't go to the grocery store and buy corn. We went to the field and gathered corn and put it in freezer bags and into the freezer.
It won't be too much longer before
So,
Well, now your field corn is, it'll get harder quicker. It's a yellow corn. It's yellow. It's all yellow. And your sweet corn, most of the sweet corn is white, but they're going to breeding it now where it's yellow and white mixed. Like the peaches and creams, you got white and yellow in the same corn, the same cob. It's a harder corn. It don't get, it's a bigger kernel, but it's a little more coarse when you're eating it than your sweet corn.
I can cut the top off, slit it a couple of times, and dump the whole piece into a pot and let it go to cooking slowly. And after it's completely thawed up, it's seasoned, a little bit of meat grease, and if it's not thick enough, I'll put a little bit of cornstarch in it, liquefied, and like I said, seasoning, peppers, the salt, and a little meat grease, and it tastes just like it was out of the field. It's good. And I date it because I want to make sure that I don't maybe use the fresh corn, which I've got some old corn in the freezer already from last year. And so the purpose of dating it is to make sure I use the old corn before I start on my fresh corn. And I stack it in this manner because it tends to be removed from the freezer easily. This is for my daughter. She wanted some on in the quart bag because she has 6 members in her family, and I think she may have about 15 to 16 quarts for this year. In the wintertime especially, I make soup every other week, and if I'm expecting family, I'll put 2 bags of that corn in the a pot and cook it by itself. But just soup and then cooking corn and peas and butter beans, those 2 things. And sometimes I'll have okra to put on my butter beans, but with my corn, it's just soup. And some days we'll just cook corn by itself and biscuits. No meat or nothing, just those two things. If it's like within 30 minutes, I can have those two things done. We did 70 bags altogether of quarts and pints of corn. 70 bags in all. Well, there'll be 4 families eating out of those. Of course, we have a little bit left from last year, but 70, and we'll eat that pretty much all of it this year. With everyone, sometimes, like I said, my son, my 2 daughters, and our family here, so that's 4. So we make use of everything that's in there. It's hard work, but sometimes, you know, you have to do the hard work in order to have something for the winter. Before I got married to Mr. Clark over here, my mother, we cleaned the corn and then cooked it and cut it off the cob and cooked it. Cut it off the cob raw, and then she brought it in the house and cooked it in a big pan. And we would put it in the refrigerator and cool it sometime in the afternoon around 8 hours after it had completely cooled down. We bagged it and put it in the freezer. That is the difference in what we did then and what Anda does now.
Yellow corn. It won't be too long. Yeah.
Before we got anything called sweet corn, we get our field corn that we grew for hogs and everything else out of the field. That's where we got our what we call sweet corn. They cook it, blanch it, just like do everything else, but they had to put sugar in it when they got ready to eat it to sweeten it down some. And then they take it and put it in jars and put it in a wash pot and boil it till it all seals. When that lid seals on that jar, they know it's sealed. When it pops, it's sealed. Then they take it out. Then we switched over from that and went to a pressure cooker. That's what we didn't think about. The cooling it off and all that other stuff, you know. It takes about 20, 25 minutes on cooking the corn.
It's a little easier now than it was years ago. It's easier. You've got tables that you didn't have years ago and chairs. You've got all these, the burner over here that you can use, bigger pans. I mean, and all the family will be willing to come and help. And years ago, it was just individual families doing their own work. And but now, and then we've got like those grandchildren that you saw here earlier. I called them Friday and told them that I was going to be, someone coming over to help, and they canceled their jobs, got off work in order to just come over and help and be here with us.
You hear this?